really embarrass her, waxing glowingly about her qualities, and that would embarrass her, and she's a humble person. So I'm actually going to read a brief bio from attached to one of the articles that she recently had published. But I've known her for 9 years, and I could tell you she embodies the Rotary ethos, if you will, of service to others. And it's been a great joy to experience it directly, watch it in action. So Stephanie is the executive director for FamilyPoint Resources. In the fall of 2009, she began volunteering at FamilyPoint after returning to Houston, Texas from Sendai, Japan, where she taught ESL with the JET program and at Starry, a private conversation school. While in Japan, she learned Japanese, traveled throughout Asia, and began to develop I can't pronounce this, I'm going to say a teaching philosophy of play that influenced her previous role of education director at FamilyPoint. From 2010 to 2012, she instructed creative writing part-time with WITS Houston. She has a Bachelor of Architecture from the University of Texas and a Master's in Theological Studies, Summa Cum Laude, from Houston Graduate School of Theology. It is my extreme pleasure to introduce Stephanie Hruzek.
Thank you, Jorge, for that wonderful introduction. It's an honor to work with Jorge through FamilyPoint and to be here today. Hi, Paul. Good to see you again. Paul and I have been talking about starting an Interact club, Rotary Club at FamilyPoint. And the pandemic has slowed us down a bit, but I'm excited about that rolling out. I would like to share a video with you all. It's about 1 minute long. Is it possible for me to share my screen? Okay. Okay. If I do that, do you guys see the video? Mm-hmm. All right, here we go.
FamilyPoint, we spread positivity through opportunities. Learning! Ballet! Swinging trees! Growing things! Science!
We're going to take away 2 hours.
Well, first of all, also watch. To the inside of your leg.
Your money will empower us. It'll make us more successful.
You're meeting needs,
Building hope.
transforming lives. Thank you. Stay positive.
Thank you. I'm glad y'all enjoyed that video. It was good fun putting it together with the kids, and I think shows a variety of things that happen at FamilyPoint. And I'm going to do my best to talk about those. So as Jorge mentioned, I have a bachelor degree in architecture, and my interest in architecture took me to Japan. And while in Japan, I realized I loved teaching a little bit more than designing buildings, and developed a pedagogy of play. So I was really happy, Sheila, when you said that you all had an informal fifth thing to your commitments, and that was to have fun. Because when I was in Japan, I realized how important play is for children to learn. And I came back to Houston thinking that I would get my master's degree and become a teacher in the public school system, and started volunteering at FamilyPoint. And I very quickly realized that there was more need right here in Houston, right here in Spring Branch, than I knew of. And when I came back to Houston, I thought I'll be here 1 year tops, because I love to travel. I was definitely a vagabond in those days. And I thought, well, I'll probably end up in another country as a missionary, if not a teacher here. But the need that I saw helping kids with homework help kind of opened my mind to the possibilities of ways to empower them here in Houston. And what I realized was that these children were behind in school and they were struggling in ways that was going to impact their future. And it was no fault of their own, but they didn't understand that it was their circumstances or their lack of resources that was having this impact and creating these challenges in their lives. So we started 14 years ago, and back then we started with one baseball team, and all we knew was that these 7-8-year-old boys had never played baseball before. And when they got on the field and in the practices, we saw anger and we saw shyness, and we didn't entirely understand those communication methods that the kids were using. And now science has kind of caught up with us. So I like to tell the story about the hippopotamus that we all have in our heads. And actually yesterday at the playground, the kids found this. So I'm just gonna bring Harry the hippo in as a little PowerPoint. So we don't literally have a hippopotamus in our heads, but we have the hypothalamus. And whenever we are stressed out, we have the HPA response system, which is our biological system that's unconscious, that predicts danger and then shuts down everything except the systems in our body necessary to survive or run away from that danger. At one point in our history, and for some people currently living in the world, that was, oh my gosh, I'm going to be eaten by a tiger, so I better run as fast as I possibly can. Well, about 15 years ago, there was an ACE study done, which is Adverse Childhood Experience. And that measured over a period of a few decades what happened to an adult who had toxic stress as a child. And this is exposure to things like, when am I going to eat? When are we going to have to be evicted? If the lights are turned off, when they will come back on? It could be divorce, it could be abuse, whole bunch of things. Basically, the unpredictability and instability of life. Research has proven that that can impact a child's life to the point that it could decrease their lifespan by 10 years. Because the stress response, right, that's biological and unconscious, and a lot of times we feel it, if you're going on a first date, or if you have a test, or you're in a job interview, maybe your palms start to sweat, you get a little bit nervous, and you kind of have tunnel vision. That's the stress response. What happens when you're surrounded by toxic stress on a continual basis is your body, oh, you guys hear me? Your body loses its ability to manage that stress and to know the difference between stress and then just positive interactions. And so we all are really dealing with this right now as a nation and as a city and as a world, because we have a global pandemic going on and life as normal has been put on pause. And so everyone that I talked to recently is like, I just don't feel like myself. And that's most likely that we've been stressed because things are unpredictable, things are different. We don't know when this thing that we're looking forward to will happen. And so over time, then we don't manage that stress as well. And for children, they don't have a way like we as adults to say, there's a pandemic going on and I think I'm depressed because I haven't seen my family in 6 weeks. So they get angry and they get shy. And so they use different techniques to try to tell us their story. And sometimes it's difficult to understand. But in all of this research, Stuart Brown, who's kind of a research scientist for play, has connected that play can help us to de-stress. Play can help us to manage and cope. It can help us imagine new possibilities. And when we play well and develop habits of play, then that Harry the hippo in our head, our hypothalamus, turns in a little bit more into a game of hungry, hungry hippos, where challenges and obstacles in life become something that you have the tools and the support to get through, to manage, to overcome, to grow through, rather than something that limits your possibilities in life. Now, a great way to kind of feel this in the moment is if you're daring, you can turn your microphones off, but I have a little challenge for you all. I'm going to go 3, 2, 1, and then I want you to try to say unique New York 5 times as fast as you can. Again, if you want to take your microphones off, totally cool, but everybody participate. Ready? On 3, 2, 1, we're going to say unique New York 5 times as fast as you can. All right, ready? 3, 2, 1.
Unique New York, unique New York,
Unique
New York, unique New York.
Right, like, and we could do this kind of multiple times. And I love the laughter that I heard. Thank you for turning off your microphones. If we were in person rather than on Zoom, then in those moments of laughter, we would kind of be looking around the room at the people next to us and across from us. We'd catch each other's eyes, and there would be a connection. And that connection is vitally important to us as people because we were designed to be in community. And so play can allow us to connect in a mysterious way that builds positivity and can allow us to work through challenging circumstances for the better of everyone. So play is extremely important to us at FamilyPoint. And there's 2 avenues through which we play. One is education, and the other is exercise. Both help children to overcome challenging circumstances in their life. And there's 3 types of play that are important at FamilyPoint. And this kind of, you could go on and on about play for a really long time. But the ones that we focus on are unstructured play, parallel play, and top-down play. And I'll go over these in a little bit more depth, but I'm gonna get a drink of water because I always get dry mouth when I'm talking. So FamilyPoint serves children in the West Houston community. So we rent space in the Outreach Center of West Houston. As I mentioned, when I started volunteering at FamilyPoint, I saw kids with needs and lacking resources. So surrounding the Outreach Center of West Houston, which houses FamilyPoint Resources, there's about 4,000 apartments and condominiums within a 2.5 mile radius. And all of those, the majority of those homes feed into the Stratford High School feeder pattern. So FamilyPoint originally started working with families living in these communities and in these single homes. Statistically, those condominiums and apartments, the residents are about 80% low income. So that means a family of 4 is getting $42,000 or less a year. It qualifies them for free or reduced lunch. And it's a financial indicator that they are struggling or stressed out to make ends meet. In addition to that, about 50 to 60% are single parent homes. And nestled in these lovely apartments and condominiums are people from over 26 different countries. And that's just the last time that we counted at FamilyPoint in our connections. So you have language barriers, you have transportation barriers, you have education barriers. If you're here from a new country, you may not have a supportive network. And all of these things can become obstacles and can slow a child down from flourishing. So FamilyPoint's response to these apparent needs, understanding that in the midst of these circumstances is so much possibility and so many amazing people with wonderful stories. We have 3 umbrellas. The first is arts and education. So we, in the community center, Jorge was around when we pitched the idea to tear down a few walls because we had been gathering books. Blue Willow Bookshop helped us start a Launch the Library campaign because the Houston Public Library moved 3 miles away. Not a huge distance unless your mom doesn't get home from work until 8 o'clock, unless you don't have a car, unless you don't know how to safely traverse a couple of busy streets. So we started a launch library campaign, and we literally rented an extra room, painted the walls, put IKEA shelves together, and then filled it up and rented another room. I'll never forget the day that we were plugging away at, the Dewey Decimal System and labeling all of the books. And I was in on the computer, and a volunteer was in the other room arranging the books on the shelf. And at the end of our hard work, I walked in, and all of the books had been arranged beautifully by size instead of alphabetically. But that's the process of community. That's the process of growing and learning together. Things aren't always standard as far as the best way somebody could think to do something. So fortunately, we were able to kind of rearrange the space that we have, and that created FamilyPoint as a hub. On non-pandemic days, we have about 130 children who come up to FamilyPoint every day after school. And they have access to healthy snacks, they have homework help, they can play games, and then we have a series of enrichment clubs. So after school, the kids get unstructured play. Right? There's a tree that they love to climb. You guys saw it in the video. And when they're climbing that tree that's not very high off of the ground, they're managing risk. They're building courage and independence. They're managing their time. They're burning energy. They're exercising. They're getting their heart rate up. All things that are really beneficial, and without a lot of adults. So the adults and the volunteers are creating a safe space, a positive environment for these kids to explore the way that children do. Einstein said it, right? Play is the best form of discovery. And so that's unstructured play happens every day after school. And then there's the parallel play. And that looks like our volunteers who come in and lead sewing club. They sit next to a student and they work together on a project. They bring their wisdom and they pour it into a child to help the child learn and grow and feel success and gain that confidence of I can do this. We had one girl, the beginning of the sewing camp one summer, she had a hole in her dress. At the end of it, she did not, because she fixed it herself. So things like that are really beautiful. And then again, parallel play would look like the homework help. Volunteers coming in and helping a child to understand math. We also do college and career readiness and after school. The second umbrella is health and fitness, and that's what started us. A lot of kids in our community did not have access to play sports. And so anything that was an obstacle between a child and an opportunity, we tried to build a bridge over. So we registered children in 2019. I think it was over 300 kids were registered into at least one or more of 6 sports. We provide coaches, and where our baseball team lost every game in 2007, we now have some cross country and track runners that are nationally ranked, and a few students who received scholarships. And so our health and fitness is about exercise, and it brings in a type of play that has the top-down structure. So top-down play looks like an authority that's come in and set some rules and boundaries. And if you don't follow those, then you can't play the game. And for many children, playing sports, soccer, baseball, basketball, or running track is the first time they've really encountered a set of rules that they have to follow. And so they're negotiating their relationship with authority, and they're being pushed to explore how far their abilities can go in the game. And so it's really important to have that top-down kind of play where the children have to adhere to the rules, but it's so fun. The majority of time, they're like okay with the rules. But they build character and team sportsmanship, that's what I'm trying to go for, collaboration, all of these wonderful things that then pour over into school, right? If I am a part of a team and I have a friend and we spend all of this time, maybe in the dugout, there's some unstructured joking going on, and then we win a game because we practiced really hard, and then we go to school and that friend is in my math class, and maybe him sitting next to me gives me a little bit more confidence at something I'm not great at in math. Or maybe I can ask him and he can help me. We can work on it together. So through these programs, we heard the stories of the families who had immigrated here from other countries, who had gone through tragedy. And they said, my kid is different because of this baseball team. My kid is different because of this theater class. They have more confidence. They have friends. They're trying new things. And all of those arts and education and health and fitness things throughout the summer get compacted into week-long summer camps. So we have a whole slew of enrichment from junior Olympics trips to senior trips to taking kids up to Camp Ozark, summer reading programs. All of those happen at FamilyPoint. And the third umbrella is community engagement. And this is one that basically allows us to do what we do. The Outreach Center and FamilyPoint are in partnership to be able to provide these programs. The local churches come and volunteer. The high school sends their students over to volunteer. And ultimately, the whole community becomes enriched. And so our community engagement things, the monthly family potlucks, the community events, fun runs, and the sidelines of every sporting event and dance performance is a common space where people from different sides of our community could come together and learn about each other. And through those moments of adults meeting and talking, some really amazing resources and support has been shared to where now our programs focus on the children, but along the side, the parents and the families are building these networks and support that allow them all to flourish and break cycles of poverty. So all of this ultimately, and play as an avenue, is a way for us to build supportive relationships. Everything that I've said is merely the structure, the philosophy, the theology behind doing God's work in our community. Each one of these programs gives us the opportunity to look at a child and say, you are loved. You're valuable, you're worthy, you're capable, you belong, and we believe in you. Everyone needs to hear that because it's the truth, right? And through those relationships, the children can develop the grit and the support, the mentors and the role models to help them figure out how to make the most of the empowering opportunities presented to them and how to work through the challenging circumstances that life will always throw at us. There's no magic bubble we can put on these kids, as much as I would love to construct one. So when you provide children with supportive relationships, through empowering opportunities that engage them in education and exercise with the philosophy of play, they flourish. In 2019, 2018, we started giving college scholarships. And so in total, we've given 10 college scholarships to deserving FamilyPoint students, a total of $50,000. And that is a dream come true. It's something we've been talking about doing for over 10 years, right? Like these 7 and 8-year-olds are now taller than me, the ones we first started working with. And I did a little calculation. I think we're almost up to 100 high school graduates that we're calling FPR alumni. Last year in 2019 of May, which is a weird year to graduate from high school, but our count was 65 graduates. Now that includes the volunteers who may not be in financial poverty, but they've grown and they've learned how to teach art class, how to give back at FamilyPoint. So we consider them part of FamilyPoint. They're part of our family, one of our kids. So 65 total. And of that, 11 of the kids who graduated from high school that in one way or another are going on to continue their education, there's 11 students that are the first generation to continue on to higher graduation, be it a technical school or a 2-year college or 4-year college. And that is ultimately like the number that matters the most to us. Because when we have FamilyPoint alumni out in the world, they're taking what they learned here and applying it wherever they land. And that exponentially grows the impact of our programs. And then it also creates an avenue for us to grow, because those FPR alumni, we have 2 that have graduated, well, 3 graduated from college, one's at medical school, But the other two, recently, over the past 2 years, they confessed to me that every time they go to happy hour, they talk about how they're going to come take over my job because they want to come work for us. And we want to get to the point where we can have them come work for us, because it would cut the training in half. They already know what we're doing, and they're bringing this new wisdom, this new energy in. So if you have some time, I'd love for you to check out our website. It's FamilyPointResources.com, and there's a link on there that has, celebrating our 2020 graduates. I just realized that I think I said some of those years incorrectly. I'll blame it on the pandemic. So in 2020, we had 65 high school graduates. And since 2019, we've been giving out college scholarships. So that's Family Point in a nutshell. Jorge sees us on the day-to-day. And so if I've forgotten anything that's super important, I'll let him chime in. But I would love to open it up just to questions. If anyone has questions or is interested in connecting. I do want to say, because I forgot to work it in there, we serve over 700 children a year. I would say the number is between 700 and 1,000, because probably about 300 are indirectly served through our Christmas store, through Thanksgiving blessings, boxes of blessings that are meals, and some other things that we do, like backpack supplies for the beginning of school. So we may not have the names of those kids, but in one way or another, they're being impacted by our programs. And we've had over 600 volunteers a year that come and help us do this. We're a staff of 6. One is a college intern. So everything drives through the help of volunteers. So if you want to connect, our website's also a wonderful way to do that. Hopefully I can figure out how to put it in the chat. All right, Jorge, let me know if I forgot anything, and I'll zip it and let you guys ask me questions.
We have some questions for Stephanie. Well, Stephanie, let me ask you this now. When I assume that right now it's probably not a great time, but at some point, could we, for those that are interested, come out and visit the facility?
Absolutely. I would love for y'all to come and visit the facility. Any afternoon. Right now we are open. We're limiting ourselves to 60 kids a day. That's inside and outside at the facilities. So if one or two of you want to drop by, I think that would be a very safe way to do it. It's easy to stay outside and chat and kind of see the activity, because we're definitely getting the kids outside a good bit. So yes, that would be wonderful.
Excellent. It sounds like it'd be fascinating. I think, as you probably have heard from our remarks, we are kids and education oriented ourselves. In terms of the young people in our communities, and so it's fascinating what you're doing and all the good work that your group is doing for the youth. Any other questions, Jorge?
So if we have a minute, I'd like for Stephanie to share the story that I heard her speak about last week of the girl from Afghanistan, and maybe Emmanuel's accomplishment this weekend in the cross-country meet.
Yes. So Parwana is a student from Afghanistan, and she represents a number of children and families that have become refugees in our city. She had to leave Afghanistan when she was 8 years old because her father worked for the government and he was murdered. And they fled to India, her mom and her 2 brothers and her grandmother. They stayed in India until 2018, when they got the paperwork to come to America. Parwana's first time in her first time in school ever was as a junior at Stratford High School.
Wow.
So she had never been schooled in Arabic, much less in English. She knew 2 words, yes and no, when she started out. connected with us because one of her teachers emailed me and said, I've got a student who needs help with math. We have to get her to pass these classes, because if you don't graduate by the time you're 21 in SBISD, you can't continue on with high school. So there was a big time crunch, and we worked with her for about 1.5 years. She graduated in 2020, and now we are helping her at HCC. She wants to become a dental hygienist. And so we're getting her ready to pass the TSI and be able to take those biology and all of those courses. So she has a very powerful story, and she gives me lots of hope being able to work with her, and definitely puts in perspective how many things we have to be grateful for here. Emmanuel and a number of other students came here as refugees about 6 years ago. Again, they spoke no English. Emmanuel is from Africa, and I believe they were in a refugee camp in Zambia before they came here, lost their mother in the refugee camp. So it's dad and 2 brothers, and then the sisters are in another state. And he has been running cross country with us since he started, and he is going to state to compete. He won first in regionals, and this is an opportunity for him to go to college and to be supported and pave some roads for some other kids. So I could go on and on and on with the story.
Stephanie, you said that families of 4 who earn less than $40,000 are below the poverty level.
Yeah, so I misspoke there. They would be considered low income. So a family of 4 that makes, I think it's 13,000 or less, 15,000 would be considered low poverty level, and low income is 180% of the poverty level. And I can't keep track of the years, but it's somewhere between $42,000 and $44,000 for a family of 4 that qualifies them for assistance. We do have a number of families. I think it's like 80% of the families we serve qualify for free or reduced lunch. The ones who do not may earn $500 extra a year. And so it takes them off of all that assistance, but doesn't give them quite enough to flourish. Also, you have to have a valid Social Security number. So people who are here seeking opportunities a little bit under the radar aren't always confident to apply for that aid.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, well, Stephanie, thank you very much for joining us today. I mean, that's fascinating, and I definitely think we will have people that will come out and visit. And if we can be of assistance and help you, let us know, and we'll certainly take it under advisement, and because we like to help those in our area if at all possible. So thank you for joining us, and Jorge, thank you for having Stephanie today.